Hello, here we will take a very simple and brief look at how to use the so-called text radar for content development when you create learning resources, MOOCs and the like. And the text radar is a kind of visual formalism. It's visual, that it appeals to the eye, and it's formal in the sense that all components of the image has well-defined semantics. They have a meaning, and we will briefly go through that now. So what is a text radar? And here's an example. We have a spreadsheet with several columns along here. And that translates to the visual display like a radar known from the airplanes and boats and such. And the image is a circle with four areas, 4 quadrants, but there are also bands from the outer rim and towards the center. Now, each of the quadrants represent a text type. In this case, we have 4, the normal running HTML text, the page, the audio visuals, images and videos and audio, the interactive learning objects, which are programmed interactivity, and paratext, which both points to internal and external structures and other resources. We don't go deeply into that because the paratext is somewhat a complex concept, but let that stay as it is for now. And then we have these bands from the outer rim, where you have the kind of idea stage, and then under construction, and then drafts, and then finally things that are accepted for publication. And so when we work with this, we start in the outer rim, we designate an entry in the spreadsheet that sort of represents, each line represents a small chunk, a small piece of text. And in this column, we describe the type of the text, and here the status. How far has that particular piece of text come in the production process? And then over some phases, the dots here, the blips, they move towards the center. And also the diagram has a quadrant mode where you can select one of the 4 quadrants and then look closer at each item. And that is described here, and it comes up as a keyword or a small summary for that particular text. That's the idea. Now let us imagine that we have this kind of radar for a work in healthcare, in paramedics in this case. And we can see that for the pages, quite a lot of items have begun being processed. The same is the case with in this case, I think it is the audiovisuals that are on this quadrant, not exactly like in the previous image, but be that as it may. But there are still some in the outer rim, and here there are not so much processing going on. Now, if you go into that textual part, in the quadrant part, we get the list of all the items shown here, and then we can select one particular one, number 8, and then show that here. The diaphragmatic rupture, I was supposed to say, diaphragmatic rupture in the lung. And we can use that description here, which is in this case is very short, as a kind of search profile or some summary. And if we use like Google and search for that, we get a number of hits. And in this case from Medscape, which is a good description for emergency departments. And then for Wikipedia, and there are several other resources. Now, you're not going to use that directly, but we can sort of input that in the Studio editor in OpenEdX as a background, and then start to write in your own language, in the language that is adjusted to the student's need, and then maybe add some pictures, maybe a small oral presentation, a video, an audio, an interactive learning object, and we take away the initial material. In this way, we get a rapid turnaround from idea creation into something that can be further developed. Thank you for your attention.